Friday in other countries. It's not the only country in the world where everyone rushes to the mall to get those bargains for their holiday shopping. Anyway, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about training. I'll do my little spiel here as usual, and then I'm going to go to the comments and take some questions and comments. But I was having a conversation recently with Milos Sarshev. I was interviewing Milos and Jamie Christian, Jamie the Giant, who was over from the UK. I think he's still here for a couple weeks to train with his new coach, Milos. And we were talking about, people are very hesitant these days to do too much training. It's good that we're cognizant of overtraining, but a lot of people are afraid to train what they think is too much. And how much is too much? And is HIIT training, are the briefer short workouts really the best way to go? And I just want to give you a little bit of the background. When I came into this sport, when I was 18, I got a Flex magazine in the mail while I was at UCSB, University of California, Santa Barbara. Anyway, that one magazine, my mind just went totally towards, I have to be a bodybuilder. I'm going to be a bodybuilder. So I went to the bookstore. It was off campus where everyone got their textbooks and everything. Started to see what they have as far as bodybuilding books, anything that could be helpful to me. And I walked out there with two books, the Nautilus Bodybuilding book by Arthur Jones and the Nautilus Advanced Bodybuilding book by his protege, Ellington Darden. And, Jones invented the Nautilus machines. He was an early proponent as far back as the early 70s in terms of very brief, very intense workouts with plenty of rest in between. He felt that pro bodybuilders were training way too much. He did a very famous experiment called the Colorado experiment with Casey Viator. And he wanted to see, Casey had lost half a finger in some industrial accident. He was out of training for a long time. I think it was something like a year. And he wanted to put his muscle back on. And Jones was able to take him through a month of high intensity workouts. And I think he put on like 70 pounds of muscle. Now, he wasn't putting on 70 pounds of new muscle. He was regaining muscle that he had already had. Anyway, the point he was trying to make was in just this minutes of training a week or whatever it was, 20-minute workouts 3 times a week, he was able to put on as much muscle as Arnold Schwarzenegger did with twice a day training for 2 hours each. And he was basically trying to espouse the superiority of HIIT training, very, very brief training. So I read those books and it was very, very convincing. He made me think that bodybuilders are doing it all wrong. He was, of course, selling the Nautilus machines as well as the principles. So he said his machines were so superior to barbells and dumbbells, with the exception of a couple things like squats, he said you should still do. But the point he was trying to make, and he made it very well and very convincingly, was that bodybuilders trained too much. They would get much better results if they trained much more briefly, much more intensely, and paid a lot more attention to recovery. So for the first 2 years or so of my training, that's exactly what I believed. And it was like a religion. I was convinced, how if you follow some particular religious belief, you think your beliefs are the only valid ones and everyone else is going to burn in hell. Well, this is kind of what it was like. I felt everyone who listened to Jones and believed in what he said and practiced these briefer workouts, they were going to make tremendous progress, and everyone else was just going to be spinning their wheels, and maybe even they were going to shrink. And, later on, Mike Mentzer, who was also a protege of Arthur Jones, he came along with his heavy duty training, which was very much based on Jones's principles that Mentzer added on to. He believed in very, very brief workouts and a lot of time between workouts, to the point where he had some people doing like a whole body workout, and then I don't think he had them doing anything else for 7 to 10 days, which was just ridiculous. Anyway, that's what I believed that was the best way to train. And I believed anyone who trained more volume style training, they were wrong. They were so backward. It was such an obsolete way of doing things that I had this smug superiority complex. And the crazy thing was, I didn't make tremendous gains in those 2 years at all. But I remember arguing with people and bodybuilders and promoters, and I remember distinctly after losing, I think I took like 5th out of 6th in a teenage class in 1989, one of my first shows. And I went to visit the head judge because he owned a gym that was only about 10 or 12 miles away from where I lived at the time. So I took a ride over there and I asked him, why did I lose? Why this guy? And he told me, I wasn't that conditioned. The kid that won, he was smaller, he was shredded. And I started talking about training, and he could see that I was brainwashed. He said, why don't you try training more? I said, no, that doesn't work. He said, how do you know if you haven't tried it? And, I struggled with that. But after a little while, I did start trying more volume. And what do you know? I started growing. I wasn't on steroids yet. I wouldn't be on steroids for another 7 years from that point. But just the volume, the increase in volume and working body parts a little more often, it made a huge difference. I started growing. And, Milos is talking about, people will say the way he trains and coaches his athletes, he has them training twice a day, sometimes 6 days in a row before they take a day off. Because these are professional bodybuilders. They have the time and the energy. They get plenty of sleep. They can eat whenever they want. So they're in an ideal situation to recover from these workouts. And as pro bodybuilders, he says, what is your profession? You're a professional bodybuilder. You should be training and improving your physique. So they do, and they did. So Milos does not believe that. And, Dorian Yates was an example of someone who did very, very well on brief training. And I'm sure there are people out there, and maybe you're commenting right now. I'm going to get to your comments in a second. Some of you have gotten much better results from training less frequently and much less volume, very brief, high intensity, maybe 1 or 2 working sets per exercise. Sometimes maybe even 1 or 2 working sets per body part. I don't know. But I think a lot of people would be making better progress if they tried more frequency, training a body part more often, doing more volume, assuming that the nutrition is there to support it and you're getting enough rest and everything. But you could be missing out on a lot of gains that you never would have even been capable of. All right, so let me see if you guys have anything to say yet. I bet you do. You guys are good like that. Okay, where's my shout out? Gain Labs. Well, I just got on, so shout out to Gain Labs. Right, Super DMC, mistakes make you stronger. Well, if that's the case, I'm super strong because I made so many mistakes. God, I could do a whole 8-hour live about all the mistakes, but I'd miss too many meals, so I'm not going to do that. Gain Labs, you can never train too much so long as your nutrition complements your workout effort. I do think a distinction does need to be made between enhanced bodybuilders, those using steroids, and those who are natural or not using steroids or SARMs or pro hormones, because those are all drugs, guys. Sorry to break it to you. If you're natural, you probably do need to pay a little bit more attention to recovery. Probably do need to reduce your volume a little bit, but you could probably still train more than you think you could as long as you're eating enough good quality food. Let's see. Jamie Christian, a.k.a. The Giant. I hope that's really you. Less is more, Ron. Don't tell Milos. Well, that's you and Milos were the whole reason I got the idea to do this one. Ricky Lobo, hey, Ron, how often do you change exercises? I don't really plan it out, but I change them all the time. It's basically, what I'm in the mood for. I'm in a maintenance phase, really. I'm trying to build a little, of course, but I'm 52. My days of making crazy gains are over, and I hate to break it to you guys, because there's going to be some guy here says, I'm 70 and I'm still making gains. There's always one person that has to make a post like that. I'm 110 years old and I'm still making great gains. Okay, whatever, dude. Usually we find out these people who are older and they're making gains, they started training much later in life, or they stopped training for many, many years and now they're back to it. But nobody who starts out like as a teenager is 50 years and has been consistently training hard, eating well, using gear. You're not making gains after 20, 30 years. You're just not. I'm sorry. Otherwise, we'd have a planet full of, real life hulks, 1,000 pounds ripped walking around. We don't. So, yeah, I don't intentionally change exercise. It's kind of what I'm in the mood for. Does my shoulder hurt? Does my back hurt? Does my knee hurt? What can I do today? Sometimes a lot of times I'll try exercises, and if it's hurting in the joint, I'll go and find something else that doesn't hurt, and I'll do that. But yeah, I'm sorry, that doesn't probably not a really good. Jerry says I'll always train full body. Full body training, that's a lot to do in one workout. It's a lot. I mean, even if you're only doing like one big exercise, I think it's great for beginners. Great. 3 times a week, do the whole body. Do like all the basic exercise, squat, deadlift, bench press, military press, barbell row, dips, chins. Do like just those. You don't even need to do arms really at that stage. But as time goes by and you're able to do more damage with your training because you're stronger and you're able to train more, I do think it makes more sense to break it up, at least upper body, lower body, or the way I've been doing it for the past 3 years now is push, pull, legs. So one day I do all the pushing muscles, chest, front delts. I do front and side. Chest, shoulders, triceps. Then pull day is back, biceps. I throw rear delts in there too. Sometimes I do traps. I don't do traps that often. And then legs is obviously legs. There's a lot of different ways to do it. J-Dog goes back to what we said last time. If you have the genetics, any workout will give you, oh yeah, I mean, if someone's a genetic freak, brief training will make them huge. Volume training will make them huge. Anything they do will make them, they can look at a weight. You know, I joke that some of these people are so genetically gifted, put them on a scale and just tell them, think about training and watch the scale and they gain a pound just thinking about training. I wonder if that would actually work in some cases. I bet it would. Yeah, that was let's see. Which country, boss? Ayubali Ali? I don't know. I'm in the USA. That's where we have Black Friday. It's just a day of shopping. That's all it is. Ruben Von Verdi, is use of clenbuterol safe for a long period of time to stay in shape? I don't know. Maybe for some people it probably is. For some people it probably isn't. You know, eventually you can get like heart arrhythmia, things like that. I would never want to see anybody use it. I would never personally use clenbuterol for more than like 6 weeks. You know, eventually the body gets used to it after a few weeks anyway. You shouldn't need to rely on something like a drug to get lean. It's good for the last, you know, when I was competing, when I was prepping and stuff, I didn't start the diet using fat burners and clen and all that. They would come on later on toward the last 4 to 6 weeks is when I would really kick into things like clenbuterol, thyroid, which I wouldn't touch again. J-Dog, haha, my results have been modest no matter which style I did. Well, you know, you have average genetics like most people. Yeah. Eric, people trying to train like Dorian Yates, I think it won't work for most. Here's what I say about that. I say, try it. If it works well for you, keep doing it. If it doesn't work that well for you, give it a fair chance. Give it at least a couple months. But if it doesn't work, you know, just because somebody, even if it's 6-time Mr. Olympia, even if they say this is the best way to train, it is for him and it is for some people, it might not be for you. You have to try volume and try the briefer workouts. Until you've tried a few different things, there's no way you could possibly know which one your body responds to. And, you know, you also have to enjoy your training. If going to the gym for 20 to 30 minutes and, you know, getting all psyched up to do one set and everything, some people would thrive on that and some people would say, oh, this is boring or this sucks. I enjoy training. I'd like to train more. You have to enjoy your training too. You know, it's not all fun and games and everything, of course, but, you know, I love training. And if I had to train a way that I didn't enjoy, that wouldn't be very, very fun. Let's see. We're back. People trying to train. What split do you recommend for an advanced natural bodybuilder? I've been piping up push-pull legs to everybody lately. I love it. I think it's a great split. Push, pull, legs. You can take an off day after the third day and then repeat, or you can throw rest days. You know, like if you're natural, let's say you just did 2 days in a row of that. Let's say you did push-pull and you're feeling a little dragged out. You can take a day and rest, then come back and do legs. And you can pick up, you can really plug rest days in anywhere there. I do it usually 3 days on and then a rest day and repeat, but you can throw rest days in whenever you want. Or if you're someone who recovers very well, you could just keep running push-pull legs until you're starting to feel run down. There are people who can train many, many days in a row without overtraining or burning out. Especially I find people that come from an athletic background of something like football or hockey, wrestling, something where the practices were very long and grueling and their body's used to a high workload and doing that every day pretty much. Those people seem to do pretty well with higher volume and frequency. The interview you did with Franco, he said Mike mentioned Ray did more. Yeah, I believe that. I mean, even when I watched Dorian train back in 1992, I actually took his belt that he was using for the video shoot and used that belt myself for about 12 years after that. But he took a while to build up to that one set. It took a few sets of warming up, and those sets didn't count, obviously. But he didn't just really do one set. He would do it would be like 4 or 5 sets per exercise, but only that last set was the all-out to failure and beyond set, but still he would say I did one set. Yeah, so the Mentor brothers, they did more volume than what most people were led to believe, I'm sure. D Underwood, bless up from Brooklyn in the house. Jerry, front squats, deadlifts, military press, barbell rows, flat bench, incline press, machine rows, seated cast for about 50 minutes, and then a full body with dumbbells at home. Thank you. Yeah, that's a good routine. I mean, like I said, full body routines, if you like it and you're getting great results, you do you do whatever you want. I've tried full body. I always felt like about halfway through I was starting to lose steam. So the body parts that got hit later in the workout didn't get the attention, the energy, the concentration, focus that the ones that I trained earlier in the workout. So by breaking it up, at least you can be sure that everything gets an equal amount of energy and attention. If you're doing a full body workout, I can't imagine the last 2 or 3 exercises or anything near. You can't perform as well as you did in like the first 3 or 4 exercises. You're getting tired. If you're training hard, you really can't train super hard for more than about, I don't think 90 minutes. Yeah, if you are, you're pacing yourself. I mean, even an hour of very hard training, that's a lot. If you're moving quickly, you're not taking, long rest periods, and you're not training with a group of like 5 people and resting way too much between sets. Happy holidays all, says D Underwood. Eric, what's a typical minimum effective dosage of Primo? That's a question for the doc, Dr. T. I'd probably guess like 300 to 400 milligrams if I had to guess, but that's a question for Dr. T. He says 100 grams. Maybe if you're a woman. I don't think 100 grams of Primo for a man weekly would do much. Victor Gadani, I train each body part once a week. That's very standard. That's what we call the bro split, which there's many variations of it, but it's, usually it's like chest one day, shoulders another day, legs another day, back another day, arms another day. Sometimes things are combined, but everything usually gets hit once a week. And I did that for many, many years, and I had decent results. Now I would do more for each body part when I was doing it that way. When I do push-pull legs, I don't do as much, but I'll do different exercises. I'll rotate exercises. And another thing I do with push-pull legs is on the chest, on the push day, sometimes I'll start with shoulders, which I don't need much of a chest. I have a really good chest anyway. So this might not be a great idea for everybody, but I'll do more of a chest dominant push day, and then the next will be more of I said shoulder, and then chest would be the next. So I would alternate between those. Let's see. Lucky 7788. Now we have a fractional low volume train that was again brought up by Jordan Peters. Low volume is obviously a great way to train, but I think it's best for the intermediate level, because when you're experienced, you get very strong, it becomes very dangerous, or it becomes just dangerous. In fact, any training system works as long as progressive overload is followed. Yeah, there's so many ways to train that are effective, so many. There's no best way to train. If there was, eventually it would have caught on, and that's what we would all be doing. But there's no best way of training, because some things will work better for some people, and some things will work better for you now, but they didn't before. And in the future, you might need something different. Your body changes, you get older. The way you train as a young man will not be the way you train as an older man. It's, like I don't train that way anymore. I can't. My joints can't take all those super, super heavy free weights like I used to. I can do some, but not all the time. MR, push-pull, rest, legs. Rest for me is working great. Yeah, like I said, the great thing about push-pull legs is you can throw a rest day in there anywhere, and it doesn't disrupt the order or anything. You just come back to, you pick it up where you left off, and there's no issues. Whereas, when I was on that bro split, it would be like Monday had to be this, Tuesday had to be that. I felt like I was really locked into. And if I missed a day for whatever reason, had to work, something work or school or family, something made it so I couldn't get to the gym, it would stress me out, because I missed leg day. I can't do legs tomorrow because I'm supposed to do back on Friday. It was a whole big deal. It was ridiculous. It was all in my head. Opinion on the 1980 Olympia results. Who should have won? Okay, so this was 1,000 years ago we're talking about. 1980 Olympia was a controversial one where Arnold came back after 5 years to Sydney, Australia. Everyone thought he was coming to be a commentator for, I don't know if it was ABC or NBC or CBS, one of the three big networks. And then he ended up competing and winning. And I didn't have him winning, no. I think Chris Dickerson looked really good that year. I think Menser looked really good. I wouldn't have had even Zane. I mean, I think Arnold probably should have been third or fourth at that show. But judging was pretty messed up back in the days, guys. Judging now, so much more fair. So much more fair. Judging back in the day was shady as so shady. So much backdoor shit went on. Contests were rigged. They knew the winner going. Oh, God, it was horrible, horrible. So anyone who complains about the judging today, you should have seen what it used to be like, dudes. It was horrible, horrible. Some terrible things. People got screwed back in the day. Screwed. Like clear winners of contests would take second or third back in the day. And some guy that was Franco at the 1981 Olympia. Oh, dude. That was much worse than Arnold winning in 1980. Franco's legs were like way downsized. They were smooth. Danny Padilla should have won that one, or Tom Platz, or not Franco. Here we go. The Sicilian. A rack pull is a good movement for size on your back. Yeah, I loved rack pulls. I did them very heavy for many years, and I thought they were a great movement because it's basically a deadlift, but you're taking out the bottom half, which is more glutes, hams, quads. So you're making it more of a back movement. It's from like just below the kneecaps up. You can go really heavy. I never pulled more than 5 plates off the floor, and I think that was for one. But for rack pulls, I was doing like 745s and a 25. I never got 8, but I was doing 7 plates many times. 6 was pretty consistent. I got to 7. And I do feel you're able to really focus and squeeze the back at the top of the motion, really get all that shit squeezed together. So yeah, rack pull is awesome. JJ, hola amigo. Due to multiple injuries after 42 years of training, damn, you're ahead of me. I tend to use cable machines more than anything. Constant resistance, never want to stop till death do us part. Yeah, it's funny. I think a lot of us who used to shit on certain things like cables or whatever, if you had a cable set up at home during the pandemic when gyms were closed, you probably realized, wow, I could do almost anything with these damn cables. Why is it work? It's resistance. Your muscle doesn't know, is this a cable? Is this a machine? Is this a dumbbell? I still think free weights are the ultimate tool. But as you get older and your injuries rack up, I hate to tell you younger guys, and I know there's some guys out there going to say, I'm 70 and I still squat 1,000 pounds for 20 reps and I bench press 500, whatever. I know. God bless you, sir. But most people training for years and years, your joints are going to get so messed up. You'll wear out the cartilage. I've worn out the cartilage in here many years ago. You won't be able to do a lot of things. So you have to find alternatives. Cables. I love cables for a lot of things, especially like back. Sometimes I can't really get the right contraction, even with a dumbbell in a row or a machine, but I can get the cable and get it, find just the right angle, like set it up on a low pulley and really turn my hand a certain way and get my elbow way back and squeeze. So yeah, I'm not anti-cable at all. Let's see. Aesthetic muscle, dumbbell upright rows versus dumbbell side raises for side delt gains. Do them both. Why would you have to choose? Side raises, you know what I like to do is a superset that I like to do with dumbbells is side raises and then go right into the upright rows. Same dumbbells, and your shoulders get crazy pumped. But I would do both. I would do a lateral movement, either with dumbbells or a lateral machine. And then I would do upright rows. You can do those with dumbbells. You can do them with a cable attachment from a low pulley. You can do them with a barbell. I used to love doing the easy curl bar, and I would hold it right at the very end of the bar and go. It's not really a straight up and down movement. It's more of an arc, but I love upright rows for shoulders. Devin Mills, how much fat should someone take in trying to get bigger and stronger? Well, you shouldn't take in no fat. It's hard to say how much. You guys like macros, so, maybe like 20% fat. Get them from good sources. Whole eggs. I have whole eggs, 4 whole eggs every morning. Salmon, raw nuts are really good. Almond butter, olive oil, MCT oil. There's a lot of good ways to get your fats. And I do think people that eat very, very low fat, they're missing out because fat, know, fat is very anabolic. It's part of the muscle building, part of what you need to build muscle. So do not avoid fats completely. Let's see. MR, some people say that on PEDs, we can't build more than 10 pounds of muscle every year. Is that true or just bro science? Yeah, Brett Wilkins and Nick Walker gain more than that. That is total bro science. First of all, when you put these numbers like 10-pound limits or whatever, who are we talking about? If someone's 150 pounds, how much muscle they gain is not the same as someone who's already 250 pounds. So a bigger person, just like if you ever watch a show like The Biggest Loser, where these people were like anywhere from 400 to 600 pounds, some of them, or even watch like My 600-Pound Life. These people will My Biggest Loser is good because those people had to lose a lot of weight. Like some of them lost like 100 to 200 pounds, which sounds crazy, but if you realize their starting point was like maybe 500 pounds, okay, that makes sense. Whereas, you know, obviously someone who's 200 pounds can't lose 200 pounds, they'd be 0 pounds. So how much muscle can you gain in a year on PEDs? It depends on the individual. There's so many factors. There's no way to put a number on it. I will say this though, your earliest years of PED use are going to be your best years in terms of gains. And that's just like your early years of training. You're going to make better gains in the beginning because it's such a shock to your system and your body is struggling to adapt. You know, everyone's first cycle or first 2 or 3 cycles, those are usually the most productive. And after that, unfortunately, it levels out, it goes down. Otherwise, you know, like I said, if everyone consistently gained like 10 pounds of muscle per cycle, and they did like 30 cycles over a course of 20, 30, you know, we'd have 1,000-pound people walking around, and we don't. Aesthetic muscles again, mixing carbs and fats together or eat them separately when dieting for competition. I've heard a lot of arguments both ways about this. I always kept them separate. I'm not saying that that's the best way. It worked very well for me, and I've coached a good amount of people through contest preps, and it worked very well for them. So I would have a carb or a fat with meals. My wife says this is bullshit. She believes in this balanced plate thing. That's how she eats, but she's not trying to stay lean and shredded. I'm pretty freaking lean. And so I will have usually a carb or a fat with a meal. Like my last meal typically has no carbs. My last meal will either be a sirloin patty with some raw nuts and green beans, or it'll be salmon, and again with the nuts. I love those raw nuts. It's no carbs. It's all fat, and I feel that really it's good because it slows down the digestion. So I'm not starving. I don't wake up at 3 a.m. starving. I need to eat something. But yeah, I typically like to have either a carb or a fat with my protein. I don't like to mix them. Personal preference. I have heard it argued both ways, so I can't say for sure my way is the best way. Eric, how often do you recommend training calves? Also, who has or had the best calves of all time? Calves, I think you can do calves every other day, especially if you're trying to get them to grow. Sorry, man, I get so dry. Every other day, I would do different exercises. So say today I would do focus on the gastrocnemius, things with your leg locked out, standing calf raise on the leg press, things like that. And then 2 days later, I'd come in and do more of the seated calf raises. But I would work them every other day, something like 8 to 10 sets, really stretch them aggressively at the end, meaning like get on a block, get it down on one foot into a real deep stretch, hold that stretch, put all your body weight on it, try to hold it for like 30 seconds, then do the other calf. Yeah, calves are tough. They don't want to grow. Best calves of all time, I'm going to go with the Boston man, Mike Matarazzo, late Mike Matarazzo. He had, if you've never seen, Google Mike Matarazzo, Matarazzo. His calves are just crazy. He did not train them. In fact, he was unable to do most types of cardio because his calves would get so pumped. He had to stop. Like, I think he had to do stationary bike because if he walked on the treadmill, his calves would get pumped. If he did an elliptical, his calves, everything made his calves pumped and grow. They were like a legit 23 inches. And he had little ankles, so they looked. But, you know, honorable mention, we've had some great calves. The late Paul DeMeo from Boston had awesome calves. Tom Platz had great calves. Ben Pekulski, Eric Fankhauser. I'm sure I'm missing some people. Dorian Yates had great calves. Jay Cutler. Yeah, there've been some really great calves out there. Mine are okay. They're 18 inches. They're not bad. They're not awesome, but I'm happy with them. Eric, is there a way to shave your back without having to ask your girlfriend or wife to do it for you? I've seen they sell these things. You know, it's like a selfie stick, but it's like a razor thing, so you can sit there and shave your back. Yeah, I don't know too many wives or girlfriends are enthusiastic about shaving your back. It's not fun. I mean, you could do laser removal. It's very expensive, painful, and it takes many treatments. You could get it waxed, very painful. Oof, I did that once. But yeah, they do sell something. I don't know where you can get it. It's like an extender for a razor. It's like that long, so you can sit there and shave your back. I'm sure it works well for some people. Eric, what the F? Random says, how many meals do you recommend a natural bodybuilder should eat? Same amount as a drug-using bodybuilder. So 4 to 6. If you can get 4 or 5 solid meals and then a shake or 2, I think you're golden. So basically you're eating every 2 to 3 hours from the time you wake up to the time you go to sleep. I do 5 solid meals a day and 1 shake, which is my post-workout. So that's what I recommend. Feed your muscles moderate meals all throughout the day and night till you go to sleep. Just keep getting that steady stream of nutrients. I think that's the best way to go, whether you're on drugs or you're not. Aesthetic muscles again. Should IFBB Figure Pro Korean An Jung compete in women's physique? I'm not familiar with what she looks like. I'm sorry. If she's got a women's physique body, then I guess, yeah. Does she? More characters with a mix. Leg day, should I split it in 2 or just combine it in 1 day? I would split it in 2 only if your hamstrings are awful. If you have great legs from the front, your quads are really good, and then you turn to the side, your hams are very flat, then you probably should do a day where it's just like hamstrings and calves, or you can do hams, glutes, and calves or something, and then another day that's for quads. Or what I did for a few years that worked very well was I did all of my hamstring work first in the leg workout, then I got to quads, and it didn't take that much energy away from my quad training. I still had plenty left for quads, but you'll find the opposite is not true. If you do all your quad work first, say you're doing your leg extension, squats, leg press, hack squat, walking lunges, stuff like that, then you get to your hamstrings, you're pretty much gassed because that's a lot of, you know, if you're training all those things hard, squats, leg presses, it takes it out of you. So I would do that. I hope that helps. Kung Fu Fitness Lifestyle. Hello, how are you? I'm fine. Aesthetic Muscles. Thoughts on low intensity fasted cardio every morning for fat loss, and how long while on TRT? How much? Well, I'm really starting to think it doesn't matter when you do your cardio. It's calories in versus calories out. I think fasted cardio probably burns a little more fat, but man, you're miserable when you wake up and you're starving, and what do you get? A little bit of coffee and then get on your treadmill or elliptical or your stepper or whatever. I prefer, my last time I competed, I did very little fasted cardio. I did almost all my cardio right after my weight training when all the glycogen, all the carbs were out of my system. I would do about 30 minutes and then I would have my shake and then I would go home and eat. But how long should the sessions be? You know, there's no one size fits all. It's 20. If 20 minutes works for you and you're starting to lose fat, that's great. Maybe you need 30, but if you're doing it fasted, I do recommend lower intensity. I don't think anybody should be like going hardcore, high intensity cardio on an empty stomach. I think you're going to burn up muscle that way. I always felt like I was burning muscle. Metformin, I don't know anything about. I'm sorry. Gus Poulos from Greece. Is training 4 days a week the best way to gain muscle for a guy who is a hard gainer? Well, try that, but also try 6 days a week. Try 5 days a week. I don't think there's any one prescription as far as how much exercise, how frequent, that's going to apply to everybody. If you're a hard gainer, in the sense, if you do need more time to recover between workouts, if you know this, then yes, 4 days a week is probably ideal for you. But unless you've tried more, if you've tried more frequency, more volume, that might work better for you. It might work worse. You might shrink. You might start getting really overtrained. Then you'd realize, okay, less is more, less is more, less is better for me. It's not for everybody, but for some people it definitely will be. But unless you've tried different ways, how could you possibly know? Yeah, more characters. That did help. Thank you. Oh, good. Kung Fu Fitness. I am Heiko Callback. Oh, geez, I remember Heiko. I remember him from the New York Night of Champions years ago. He was crazy. They called him the Berlin Wall. You know, he kind of got lost in the shuffle because Marcus Rule was the big freak from Germany. But Heiko didn't compete that much as a pro, but he was massive. Freaky dude. Gunther Schlier, Camp and Lee Priest. More chance. Your thoughts on state of posing in open bodybuilding? Most of them suck. Most open bodybuilders, they don't put any time or effort into their posing, and it shows. Some of them do, and I appreciate seeing good routines, but the guys in Classic have way better routines on average, way better. You could see they actually have routines that they practiced, and they work the transitions, and it's entertaining to watch. And some of these open guys, they literally just walk from one end of the stage and hit the same 3 shots over and over. Back, walk here, walk here, most muscular, side chest, front double, walk over here. Same 3 poses like over and over again. It's like, wow, how lazy can you be? Guys, put a routine together. Come on. It's not that hard. Just because it's not judged doesn't mean you shouldn't take the time to make a good routine. More characters. I've never been able to count calories or macros for fat loss. Currently, I try to maintain 14-hour fasting and 10-hour feeding. Good idea. I couldn't do it. If it works for you, I don't like intermittent fasting. I don't want to be hungry. I don't want to go all that time without eating. I know people rave about it. Some people do love it and they thrive on it. Like I know Dana Lynn Bailey was all about it at one point recently. I don't like it. I like to eat. I don't like to go 14 hours without eating. Ugh. I mean, I don't think it's been shown. I don't think there's enough data to show it's a superior way for losing body fat anyway. If there was any one way of eating that was vastly superior for either muscle building or fat loss or both, we would all be doing it, but there's not. Sub-Zero, I think there's a balance of sleep quality and training frequency. The better sleep, the more you train. Oh yeah, we have a video up on this channel that Evan Senapani did for Animal, or Universal, I think it was Animal. He talked about the importance of sleep and how to get better sleep, and 100%. I mean, I know missing meals sucks for me, but missing sleep, if I only sleep like 4 or 5 hours in a given night due to whatever reason, like sometimes when I go to these shows, that's just the way it is. You have to be up very, very late, like the Olympia. Those were some late nights at the last Olympia, and then you have to be up early to get to the good seats for judging and everything in the morning. So yeah, missing sleep is not good. If you can get 8-9 hours of really good quality sleep, you could probably train. You'll recover much better. You'll be able to train more for sure. If your sleep is interrupted a lot or you're just not getting enough, if the quality of your sleep is suffering, the workouts will probably suffer too, and your recovery will definitely suffer. You know, when you're missing sleep, your body's pumping out cortisol, the stress hormone, which is catabolic. Catabolic is the opposite of anabolic. We want anabolic, not catabolic. Marcus Rule, yes, really Hulk. All right, guys. I need to get jump in the shower and then go pick up my dog, and then I got to eat. What? We got one more. I agree with you on posing. I saw Leveroni's posing. Yeah, Kevin was a good poser. So yeah, I'm going to wrap it up, guys. I appreciate you watching. Please subscribe to the channel. Hit the like. Hit the thumbs up. Leave your comments. I'll get to your... If I didn't get to you in the live chats, please leave them in the comments. I do respond to everybody eventually. Subscribe to the channel. Did I already say that? Hit the notification bell. Turn your notifications on so you know when we get new videos and stuff. Appreciate you guys watching. Everybody be safe. Have a great weekend. God bless. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.